This is a Raspberry Pi Zero W. And this little device, along with a bit of additional hardware, is bringing new life back to vintage electronic instruments. This is my Emu Emax II digital sampling keyboard. It was introduced in 1989, the same year I graduated from high school. I bought it used in 1994. My Emax II was model 2212, which meant it had 2 megabytes of RAM installed at the factory, and it was also a stereo unit. They actually had mono units as well early on. I was able to source a RAM upgrade board, and I sourced the actual RAM modules to populate it and brought it up to 8 megabytes of RAM. The Emax II was heavily used by Depeche Mode, Orbital, KMFDM, Nine Inch Nails, Alphaville, U2, Meat Beat Manifesto, among others. The Beastie Boys and the Dust Brothers did the entire Paul's Boutique album on the predecessor to this, which is the Emax I. Hardware samplers allowed you to record and play back sound with the touch of a key, and they would transpose the pitch across the keyboard. You might remember the classic scene from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where Ferris plays back a cough, which was an Emu Emulator 2 sampler from 1984. The Emax II came with SCSI built in. So SCSI stands for Small Computer System Interface, and it was a standard used in early Macintosh computers as well as Commodore Amigas, Atari, Sun Micro, SGI, etc. for hard drives, optical drives, and even scanners. Unfortunately, the hard drives built in the late 80s and early 90s are now dying. I'm not exactly sure why, but I guess a combination of lubrication failure, decaying seals, maybe capacitors failing. I don't exactly know, but hard drives from this vintage are generally not reliable anymore. This is the 525 megabyte drive that my Emax II had in it, and it stopped working. I also used the SCSI zip drive, and surprisingly, it still works, but it's really slow, rather inconvenient, and I'm guessing it might stop working any day now. So that's where PiSCSI comes into play. PiSCSI uses a combination of software and hardware to emulate SCSI devices. It tricks the host device into thinking that there are hard drives and CD-ROM drives actually attached, but in reality, everything resides on the micro SD card of the Raspberry Pi. The SCSI format supports up to 7 devices that can be daisy-chained together, and with PiSCSI, you can have 6 emulated simultaneously. It's pretty amazing. There's a few other products that do the same job. Zulu SCSI and Blue SCSI are similar devices that I can think of. But I decided to go with PiSCSI because it's software-based, and more importantly, the possibility of being able to transfer files wirelessly to and from the device. The Wi-Fi and web interface is something that Zulu SCSI doesn't have. Blue SCSI is a very similar device that uses a Raspberry Pi Pico for the brains. I bought my PiSCSI setup before Blue SCSI was available. Blue SCSI V2 apparently does support wireless Pico boards. I haven't tried Blue SCSI, so I can't really give you a review of the pros and cons, but my experience is strictly with PiSCSI. I really like the OLED screen that I have on my PiSCSI that gives you info like the IP address and shows what disk images are currently loaded. PiSCSI has the option of connecting to your Wi-Fi network, and once it's connected, it has a web-based interface that you can connect to via any browser, including your phone. All right, so I wanted to give a little demo of the PiSCSI interface. So first thing I'm going to do is just enter in the IP address of the device and hit enter. It's going to load me in to the device. So here it's showing the different SCSI addresses. So currently I don't have anything loaded in. Down here are different disk images that I've already created and uploaded. And then down here is where you can attach those disk images and sort of assign them to a virtual device. So in this case, for some reason, the Emax II seems to like the Sony CD-ROM drive emulation. It doesn't really work with the generic device. So I'm going to pick that as the drive I want it to identify as. And then I can go and pick one of the images that I have previously uploaded. And here I select my SCSI ID. So in this case, I'll set it to ID 1 and I hit attach. Going to think about it, and so now I can access this as SCSI ID number 1 and load in all the banks that are saved on this particular disk. So if I scroll down a bit, you can see here's where you can transfer files to the PiSCSI, upload them, if I click on upload new files, it opens a new tab in my browser window, and I can just drag in a disk image, and it's uploading the disk image over Wi-Fi. Pretty darn cool. All right, so finally that got uploaded. That was not particularly quick. I'm going to speed that up in editing, but yeah, there's the PiSCSI is not particularly fast. It's just something you kind of have to deal with. All right, so if I go back here, I can now mount that. So again, if I go pick a Sony drive, I'm going to have to refresh my banks here. So now it's showing up. So yeah, so if I want to mount that, I would go Sony, pick that Depeche Mode disk image, and pick a SCSI ID. Let's make it 3, hit attach. And now I can access all those banks. Scroll down here, it tells me which images are currently in use, mounted. And so if I want to mount a hard drive, so I found that if I just mount a generic hard drive, it doesn't like that. The Emax II was able to see a miniscribe image. So in this case, I had to use this Emax particular software, EMXP, and create a formatted disk image there, which is this .hda file, and then I can attach it and it will behave like a normal hard drive that I can read and write to. I tried this just create empty disk image, and I didn't really have luck with that. So if you have just a bunch of banks that are saved in the Emax 2 format, which is this EB2, so let's say I wanted to make these into a disk image that I could mount. That's where it gets a little tricky. You have to use this EMXP software, which is not the greatest interface, but it is functional. I was going to do a walkthrough of EMXP, but I decided not to. There's no real point unless you actually own one of these samplers. So PiSCSI and the other SCSI emulators were developed by retro computing enthusiasts. And I'm looking forward to trying it out. I have an old Mac 2CX and I just picked up a Mac Plus. So I'm looking forward to trying it out with those. So I bought my additional PiSCSI hardware from amigakit.com. And they're based in the UK, but they shipped really fast via FedEx to the US. I think the prices are excellent. And there's some options when you configure it. So the 25-pin external connector is an option, which I opted for. You can also get a Molex power cable, which is for mounting it internally. I did not opt for that. And then there's the option of the OLED screen, and I definitely opted for that. So then I went and found a 3D printable case for it. So this is the model that I used for the case, and I printed it out. So this works great. It accommodates the OLED screen. There's several different configurations, but this is the one I went with, and it's a really nice little case, printed up easily on my Creatality Ender 3D. So all in all, it's a cool little package. So it looks like now you can pick up a Raspberry Pi Zero 2W for $15. So that's what I would recommend. I'm using the older Pi Zero W1, I guess, but pick up the faster version, definitely. I think it'll help things out. I might upgrade mine because it does seem a little slow. So I'm going to leave links for where I bought the PiSCSI board from at Amiga Kit Store, and I'll leave a link to the 3D printable case. And I think that's going to wrap up this video. Please leave me any comments, any questions, leave it in the comments. Any thoughts, suggestions, what have you. Hit me up either in the comments or on social media. And I really appreciate you watching. Do me a favor and hit the like button and give me a subscription for more nerdy videos like this in the future. Got some cool stuff coming up. Thanks a lot for watching.